It feels so much better to use Word for script writing rather than Google Docs. Hey guys! While I'm working on some future videos and such, I wanted to make a short video about a device I recently purchased. It's called the AVS and it comes from a company called retroUSB. I'll leave links to their website and Twitter page in the description if you want to check them out. What the AVS is essentially a device designed to mimic original NES hardware by means of FPGAs. It supports both NES and Famicom cartridges through different slots. Not to mention, this also lets you play Famicom Disk System games on the device, which is also pretty neat. It is a bit weird inserting Famicom carts with the flap, but I'd rather have compatibility with both kinds of cartridges than two separate devices. Not to mention, the AVS itself is more reliable than the original NES since you don't have to press down on the cartridges, on par with the NES Toploader revision. You've also got a built-in NES 4 score, so not only can you play classic 2-player action, but you can also play with 4 players on a few select classics like Nightmare on Elm Street from LJN. On the back are HDMI and mini USB ports as well as a Famicom expansion port. The AVS overall has really good build quality. I wouldn't say it's perfect just yet as the ports on the back are a bit finicky. I had to send my initial unit back as the mini USB port broke, which is essential to the unit because it powers it. They did reassure me that they are eventually going to revise the hardware, so I wouldn't worry too much about ports snapping off. Other than build quality, the picture quality from the AVS is stellar. You may be bummed that it only displays a 720p image rather than going full 1080p, but this isn't a big issue to me as 720 is a perfect 3x integer scale from 240p. Not to mention, picture quality from the AVS on 4K TV should look great as 720 perfectly scales to 4K. So not all hope is lost for your highest quality pixels. Speaking of pixels, one of the only problems I have with the AVS, and it's a pretty minor one at that, is that there is a bit of a shimmering effect in motion on some games like Super Mario Bros. And Zelda 2. My NES library is currently pretty small, so I can't really talk that much about it, but I hope this is an issue that's fixed soon or at least given a compromise. Other than that, everything else looks essentially pixel perfect. You've got plenty of options to tinker around with and settings like scan lines to suit your preference. There are a few features I hope are added through firmware updates. Yeah, the AVS supports firmware updates through a software known as Scoreboard, which you can download off Nintendo Age. I just wish the version for Mac worked. I know they're working on a fix, but I hope they release it sooner rather than later, cause let me tell you, my HP laptop isn't very responsive when it comes to powering on. About the features, well, for one, I hope a feature is added so pixels are absolutely identical to the resolution of an original NES. Real quick shout out to My Life in Gaming. The duo who runs it, Corey and Try, are two very knowledgeable, really cool guys that know a lot about the topics they cover. I highly recommend you check out their channel. I bring them up because they've mentioned how NES pixels aren't exact squares, they're stretched out just a bit. If anything, I hope a feature is added to perfectly replicate this. The other feature I hope is added is support for different downloadable color palettes to suit people's tastes, like the ones from Pixel Purists. I'm not sure how they would do this, probably through Scoreboard, but I'm sure they'll find a way. In conclusion, for the price, I feel the AVS is well worth the cost for any NES enthusiast. It's not perfect, but it works very well overall and there's plenty of room to grow even with the current hardware. It's about $200 with shipping and I'd say for that price it's worth it, especially compared to solutions like the Analog NT. Well, until next time, this is Justin signing off.